Fancy that. Zach Seegers isn't here. We decided against it. We actually sat him down and we said,
You're
it's
fired.
it's just not working out. Try again next week. Kidding. Jokes aside.
I'm not. Zach, you're fired. I'm not wrong.
Joey has made the executive decision. He just not even going to clear it with HR. He's just going to give you the decision here live on the pod. He was going to tweet out, "I'm sick of Zach Seegers," but it just didn't turn out that way. Joey, I know you're raring and ready to speak on some Denver Broncos, but I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. What's the best song off of Eminem's new album?
Oh.
Or not best.
Which one do you like? I haven't listened to it in full yet. I've listened to it one time. I like the one with and I don't remember the track list, but I like the one with JID as a feature. I'm a big fan of Jid. And then I think that if you're a classic old like Eminem fan, Houdini, the single off the album is going to appeal to you pretty heavily. So yeah, no, I mean I liked it more than the last few Eminem albums a lot. So yeah, shout out to him.
No, I think it turned out really well. I've been enjoying Toby. I've been playing that one quite a bit. Bit by a spider, no, I was bit by a goat is just a very repeatable verse. I was having fun in my car today. Driving around. So good song, good album, really excited for it. But that's not what you came here to watch Let's Talk Broncos for. You obviously wanted to know all the new news that's come out. Obviously, that large contract for Quinn Meinerz, $80 million total over the 4 years, and I believe $45 million guaranteed. Joey, this was the right move. Although I did see some in Broncos country have the audacity to sort of challenge this or make us stink about paying one of the best top 3 guards in the NFL. I'm going to say top 3. I'll say top 5. Whichever way you slice it, it was still the right move by the Denver Broncos. Why do you think people would be so hesitant on this type of deal? And are they just negative Nancy's about the team in general?
Yeah, the answer is because they don't know what they're talking about. You re-sign Quinn Meinerz. You re-sign him, absolutely. It's not even a question about it. Ultimately, like that's the reason why you let Lloyd Cushenberry walk, is because you have another offensive lineman coming through who's an elite level one or has the possibility to be elite level. Elite in a lot of categories at the very minimum as an offensive lineman. I think this was an A+ move. You bring back the young players that are this good, and especially across the offensive line. When we know Sean Payton loves his offensive line, he's not afraid to draft him high. He's not afraid to pay him after that. The Broncos, at his short-lived time as a Bronco head coach, has already proven that. We're paying 4 offensive linemen substantial money now. 4 of them, right? It's Ben Powers.
2 of the highest paid ones are on the Broncos. You have to respect it.
Yeah. Like it just shows how important that is to Sean Payton. And they got the best one. Like you paid these other 3 guys a ton, yet you don't want to sign the best of all of them? That would be dumb to me. That would be really, really stupid. Quinn Meinerz, like I said earlier, has an elite level talent to him. And I think this just puts the president forward that, hey, we value this position, one, and then second, we're not afraid to re-sign our players if they deserve it. So I really like this move. It's A+ to me. I have no gripes about re-signing Quinn Meinerz whatsoever.
Well, I knew you wouldn't, Joey, because this falls specifically on the Richard School of maintaining talent. Your whole thing is draft, develop, and then pay your guys, specifically that young line talent. So I knew you'd be happy about that. I'm happy about it as well. We got everybody pouring into the chat. So if you'd like to join them over there, you can go on over to YouTube, search Let's Talk Broncos. You can go over to letstalkbroncos.com and find our links over there. And make sure you're following us over on Twitter, the LTB podcast, or you can follow Joey and myself, Bree Maestas 303 or JR Drafts. Specifically a lot of draft coverage over there. So if that's in your pocketbook of interest. I don't know where I was going with that, but go ahead and follow us over there and set the notifications for LTB, because I think it's really important that you know whenever we go live. D-Bronx says A+ contract. Can't believe he didn't reset the market.
Same. That was my initial reaction. I'm not a contract guy. This is where I wish we had Zach on here, because he's a lot more, I don't know, he's a lot more informed on the Broncos' financial situation, what they can afford and what they can't, or what the market value is for players. I absolutely thought he would, at his age and the level of player that he is, he would reset the market, and I would still say it's a good contract for the Broncos, just because when I watch Quinn Meinerz play, another facet of this is I think there's plenty of room for him to improve. I don't think this is maxed out Quinn Meinerz. I don't think he's just trying to sustain this level of play. I still see a trajectory for up. Like, I think Quinn Meinerz can be the NFL's best guard. I don't see why he can't. He has the athleticism. He's already an elite level run blocker in a lot of areas. Like, why can't he be? Someone give me that argument. Why can't Quinn Meinerz be the best guard in football? So I think that it's a hell of a deal, especially the guaranteed. Like I said earlier, not contract guy, but $45 million guaranteed. It's not like it's the craziest deal ever to me.
No, and I wonder what those extra incentives look like too. Christopher Hart said might be the greatest signing in Broncos history. Never before have we seen anything like this. Chris, I like the trajectory that you are sending this podcast down, because one, I positively, absolutely agree. But two, it would be hard to, I mean, we know Patrick Surtain and that decision is coming down the pike. Everyone was kind of waiting for this domino to fall to understand which direction the Broncos were going. Obviously, I don't think that they were going to lose out on Quinn Meinerz, but this has, I think, a long-standing ripple effect with what and how the Broncos approach moving forward. And obviously, a couple more years until that Russell Wilson shadow has been cleaned up and mopped up to the best of their ability. But I love this move. I think it's great. D-Bronx is in here being our cap expert. He got the same AAV as Robert Hunt with exactly $1 million more guaranteed. I think he and or his agent just wanted to beat that contract. Kind of love it.
Yeah, and Quinn Meinerz is a better football player than Robert Hunt to me. So, yeah, I think it was a hell of a deal in that facet as well. There's no doubt in my mind also, so shout out to Quinn and his agent, that if he did hit free agency, bearing no injuries this next season, and he just sustained his play since last, he would reset the guard market. The way they paid these guys this last offseason, if Quinn Meinerz was part of that group, he's definitely resetting the guard market at his age, with his talent level, with his trajectory going up, as I mentioned earlier. So shout out to him. I think he took less to be with the Broncos, if I'm being honest.
Okay, I could see that, and I would agree with that. I wanted to go back to something that you said about you can't foresee sort of the cap on his ability and progression this upcoming year and the next couple of seasons. Could you see a reality, though, where the question mark and maybe a couple of unfortunate and untimely injuries could result in him having to play positional depth for, let's say, center, or, just finding those snaps at guard taken away and kind of hurting and hindering that progression? Or do you think because of his versatility that just sets him apart, it's not really going to take away from his ability at guard? I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on that, and then I have a follow-up question when you answer.
Yeah, I think so. He did play center at the Senior Bowl, and then when he came in as a rookie as well, or he did play some center at the Senior Bowl, and then when he came in as a rookie and entered training camp, he got snaps at center as well. Always slated to be a guard, but they wanted to offer that, position versatility, see if he can play center. Lloyd Cushenberry, obviously, who got that contract this offseason, but he was struggling at the time, and Quinn was supposed to come in, or was Quinn that same year? I don't remember. The Broncos had a hole at center. And they were trying to get him snaps there as well, offer that positional versatility is what you're saying. But I don't think you move players like him around. I really don't. I don't see a scenario where it's better to take your best offensive lineman and then move him to another position unless you knew he could play that position just as well. And I don't think we know that with Quinn. So I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I wouldn't move him around. I would make everyone else move around before I allow Quinn Meinerz to, because the Broncos had a good offensive line this last year, yet the best one was Quinn Meinerz at his young age. Just let him continue to improve at that one position. That's my take there. I would never really want to see him play any other guard. I wouldn't even want to switch the other side of the guard. I don't want him to play center, none of that.
D Bronx is answering the question here with, I think them signing him to his contract means he's locked into guard. Look at guard versus center contracts. Guards get paid way more. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. What's that? I mean, let's talk about Quinn Meinerz, the guy and the player, and a remarkable story, which I'm not going to bludgeon you all to death with once more, but I think it's important to note that like a feel-good story is interesting to see it work out this way, obviously in full support of this. But I want to talk about Quinn Meinerz, the player. Joey, in your opinion, what sets Meinerz apart in his ability and skill set when you watch him there on the offensive line?
It's definitely athleticism meets power. That's the first thing that comes to my mind when I see Quinn Meinerz. Is just, he's obviously a humongous person. He's nicknamed the Belly, right? He's a huge human being, but it's that and the power that comes with, right, which also is his mindset. I even in high school ran across some really humongous people, but they were softer than a pillow and they didn't want to push people around. They didn't have that drive like Quinn Meinerz does to actually, okay, I'm driving this guy in the dirt. And that's something Quinn Meinerz absolutely has, and maybe to a level as any offensive lineman in the NFL. So it's that size matched with the mentality, then also plus athleticism. If you go look up his relative athletic score, I don't have that off the top of my head, but it has like an elite level athlete. Quinn Meinerz has all of that in his bag, which offers him to be a plenty good pass blocker as well. So I can get downfield, get on linebackers really well, pair that with my ability to want to destroy and dominate. Quinn Meinerz is an absolute monster. But it's just the athleticism meets power is the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Quinn Meinerz and why he's so good at football.
A 9.91, Joey.
Yeah, 99th percentile athlete for the guard position. So, yeah, I mean, he's freaky. He's freaky as hell. He really is. And this is the player that went to, where was it? What school did he go to? Oh, my gosh, Wisconsin Whitewater.
Wisconsin Whitewater. I see another too. There's conflicting data when you Google it, and the 9.98 that Chris is referencing.
Almost the number one. That would be crazy. I mean, almost the most athletic guard to play is what that would mean ever since they started keeping track of this, obviously. But yeah, that's the player you're talking about with Quinn, and that's why I don't think he's maxed out at all. He has a ton left.
Let's talk about money. You mentioned it earlier about the constraints that the Broncos didn't worry about in making this signing. What I've seen the biggest pushback for another player who, I guess, not being rumored to the Denver Broncos necessarily, but Brandon Aiyuk is someone that the Let's Talk Broncos crew has been throwing around. I think at first it was more of a kick in the tires, getting a little temperature check on the possibilities, like if he were to ever ask for a trade. And now it's come to fruition. D Bronx, you're right. You're not Chris. Sorry. I'm just throwing stuff out there, guys. At this point, I'll call you whatever I call you, and you'll just have to deal with it. Chris said, Bree kept saying my name. I've not said anything. I was like, what? Yeah, man. Well, you guys are commenting in relative. Do I need a nap? I don't know. I was playing Madden and I got my ass beat, and I don't have my head in the game. I don't have that cornerback amnesia that I'm supposed to have. I'm still living in the past and wondering what I could have done differently. And I can tell you right now is throw less interceptions. I was Drew locking it the entire time, Joey. I was triple, double coverage, just trying to sling it in there because I had the arm. It wasn't happening. And it wasn't happening for me. And I can't get it done. Anyway, Brandon Aiyuk has been, I would say, flirted to the Denver Broncos by the Let's Talk Broncos crew here for a while. I wouldn't say in jest, but I think at different levels, it would have been an interesting conversation, pre Jerry Jeudy trade, post Jeudy trade, in the midst of a Cortland Sutton trade, a question mark with Tim Patrick. There's a lot of questions that come to mind, but would you make the relative crazy decision to go in that direction? I don't know which side of the aisle you fall on. And now you're giving me the crazy eyes. Like,
I'm just thinking,
what could I possibly be up to with this? Joey, is it a good or a bad idea? Would it be the worst thing possible to set up Bo Nix's success with that type of receiver? Or do you think it's an overspend? Because I think you throw Aiyuk in the top 12, top 10 wide receivers in the NFL. And I've got, receipts on a couple of people in Broncos country saying it's misguided to think he could fit in here.
So the first thing you said, Bree, you mentioned Jerry Jeudy, and I thought that was really interesting because, honest to God, Brandon Aiyuk is what a lot of people wanted Jerry Jeudy to turn into. I think what the idea of Jerry Jeudy when he was drafted is Brandon Aiyuk now. So if you like that archetype of wide receiver, yeah, and also. I think you nailed it. I definitely think he's around a top 15, if not top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Probably more top 10. Here's my thing. I think it depends on how confident you are in Bo Nix right now. If you are really confident that Bo Nix is a franchise quarterback, you definitely want to set him up with a top 10 wide receiver. History has told us in the NFL that that's good. That pairing is fantastic. If you can bring in a top wide receiver to match with your really good quarterback, it's only going to propel him further. We've seen it 1,000 times. I mean, I even remember when Andy Dalton had AJ Green back then and how that made him look at that time, right? So I think there's that. My thing is, I'm not all the way there on Bo Nix yet. It's not that I'm against Bo Nix. It's just, am I that confident where I'm willing to give up? Because I think Brandon Aiyuk is going to be around a first-round pick. I think it is a first-round pick, and then it's probably what is that plus, probably, for the NFL. Yeah. So
I'd be comfortable with a first, though. At the end of the day, I think that if you're coveting those picks so much and you spend them and you get absolutely nothing in return, that's kind of a punch in the guts as well. So, Joey, I don't know how you could be 100% bought into Bo Nix right now. I don't think that would be the smart way to handle this going into training camp. We've got, 9 days until it's upon us, and we have no idea what it's really going to materialize into. But you could run the whole Jerry Jeudy thing back. I just don't think a first would be all too rich. I understand the contract concerns. If you're trading Sutton, what does that necessarily look like? Kathy said don't do the trade. She's opposed. And that's okay. I don't think that there is necessarily, I don't know if there's a right answer here. I mean, obviously there's the one that fits into Sean Payton and his system. And I still don't know what's going to happen with Cortland Sutton. So again, we're just throwing out the what could happen. I know Sarah Bettinger and Patrick Chiotti both put out different, this is kind of what it would look like. And it's interesting. It's something to digest. And it doesn't mean that we have to be all in. Christopher Hart said wouldn't make the trade. Kathy wants to see Mims and Franklin first. Joey, there's a lot of depth in the wide receiver room. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of unanswered questions. Specifically, is Tim Patrick going to be Tim Patrick? Is Cortland Sutton going to be on the team? There's a lot of who's going to make the team. And I know you said 5 wide receivers the last time I asked you. It just wouldn't make a whole ton of sense. But who would Aiyuk double up with now? Like skill wise, who is the most similar receiver on the team right now?
The team? I think there's kind of a hole for his role too, which it makes that have more sense. Like I think Marvin Mims fills a role. I think Cortland Sutton fills a role, and I think Brandon Aiyuk would definitely fill a role plus more. Just addressing the people in the chat, because it feels like this is more negative than it is positive, the idea of Brandon Aiyuk, at least in our chat. I think everybody at Let's Talk Broncos disagrees with me, so I'll catch hell in the group chat. I ultimately agree with the chat on this one. I value my draft picks pretty heavily, and as we mentioned earlier, Bree, I don't know what Bo Nix is, and I'm not trading a first-round pick. I'm not trading my pick unless I know my quarterback is in place first. If I want to move up next year and get a guy, I'm going to need that first round pick. If I want to draft that quarterback with that got pick, I really hope this isn't the scenario, but there are thousands of different places where I need that pick because I don't know what I have at my quarterback. Really,
Joey,
there really is.
How badly could the showcase be year one if you're looking to move up for a quarterback in next year's draft for the Denver Broncos? Like, how bad would it have to be for that to be the trajectory? Because I'm thinking, you're not going back that way. You're not going back to a first round quarterback pick next year. You got to give it some time to breathe.
I agree, and I think that's the normal situation. I wonder with Sean Payton though. If Nix, if he came to the conclusion, I doubt this happens. This is like the most unlikely thing. But if he came to the conclusion that it's like, okay, Bo Nix is playing fine, but I think he's maxed out. Sean Payton at his age, it wouldn't shock me to be like, I still need my guy to win a Super Bowl. I'm coaching for a reason right now. This is my legacy on the line. I still want my quarterback there. Like, what if Dak Prescott came available, right? Or somebody like that. Like these quarterbacks come available, and it's of course unlikely. You really never know which one's going to come available, but they do. They come available. And I hate talking about the quarterback because I am excited about Bo Nix and everything like that. It's just in a scenario where he's not working out, and I have a chance to get Dak Prescott, who for a lot of the season looked like an MVP caliber player, and now I don't have a first round pick to get him. That would really suck. I at least need to feel confident in Bo first before I want to trade my assets all around.
I was taking it in the draft perspective. You're right. I wasn't even considering the fact that you could make a pretty juicy deal for someone who's going to inevitably be part of the QB carousel that is the NFL. So that is still a wide open field. It'll be interesting to see. You have any predictions on when the Sutton kind of contract gets wrapped up? Because I am kind of wondering, does that stretch into training camp?
I think so.
And what's your percentage on him staying?
Ooh. After this season, my percentage on him, or for this season?
For this season, yeah.
I think him staying this season, percentage-wise, it's really high. I would say around 80% chance he's going to play out this last year of his contract. It's whether the Broncos re-sign him after that. And my percentage drops pretty drastically then. And then even once we get to did they move the trade deadline back to week 9, I think? The percentage of him staying on the Broncos at that time goes down too. I think it goes down at trade deadline and then down even more after that. I don't see the Broncos going out and giving him the contract he wants. I don't see that. I think they have plenty of role type wide receivers on this team. Cortland Sutton's obviously more than that, but they need to nail down that wide receiver 1A before they go out there, I think, and sign a guy that you're still looking for the 1A after I sign him and give him a big contract. Cortland's going to go sign to a team where they already have that. He's going to thrive, play his role, and be amazing after this season. I do think he's going to be a really good player. I just don't know if he's maximizing his potential in a Broncos uniform. I don't. I think we're in a new era of the Broncos, and I think Cortland Sutton, unfortunately, isn't part of that future.
All right. Well, we'll end on that depressing note. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Carter's joining the chat. Thanks for being late, Carter. It's going on your performance review. That's coming up." Mac TV said, "What's up, Paul Carter and LTB gang?" What's up, Mac? You'll have to go back and rewind and watch the show. Just a quick show. Christopher Hart, thank you so much for that positive feedback. We got about a week left, folks, and then we're going to be ramping up for training camp, where we'll be going so hard in the paint in excitement and preparation for the football season to begin. Joey, how excited are you for football season to return?
I'm so excited. I was ramping up today. I got stoked today. I was working and I couldn't stop thinking about Broncos football. And it hasn't been like that for a little bit. That little off-season period, I'm thinking about the Nuggets. I'm thinking about a lot of things. I'm thinking, my mind's everywhere. But today I just got amped up on Broncos football being back. Sean Payton in year 2, new Broncos quarterback. We're in a new era this year. So I am stoked for everything to happen this next week. I can't even wait for the overreactions that are going to drive me insane. And I'm going to come on here. Everyone's going to fall for it again. And then I'm going to have to be like, yeah, like we saw this the last 3 years. I don't know if everyone remembers, but I'm even excited for that.
The voice of reason, Joey Richards, is going to come in and slice all of your expectations down to the stocks, as he should. It'll be fun to balance it out. And honestly, I'm really excited for it because we don't have a good temperature check on this season yet. We've been talking about all the logistics and the bits and pieces. We haven't put it together to really feel out how we're feeling in general. And then I'd like to take a temp check prior to training camp. And then as it starts, and then at the end of it to see, the progression that we've made. Because right now we just don't know. I think that's why it was so exciting to see the Quinn Meinerz news, because we've all been waiting on some sort of directional change and momentum shift here for the off season. Yeah, Joey.
I just want to make one prediction before we sign out here. Everyone in the chat, remember this. Before we know if Javonte Williams is good or bad, right? Before we know, everyone's going to say he's bad this training camp. And then a lot of reports are going to be that we cut him. Or not a lot of reports, a lot of analysis is going to be that we cut Javonte Williams. During that time, I'm not saying whether that's true or false. He could just not be good. I don't know. We have to see how he recovers from that. I think there's a strong chance he does recover too. We just don't know. But where we're not going to figure that out is in training camp, where they're not hitting. And that's all of Javonte Williams' game, is contact balance and everything like that. So, yes, please just remember that. I don't think we're going to have an answer there until training or preseason.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Joey, and I'm glad that you pointed that out. That's something just to keep as a gentle reminder there, but I'm not going to be gentle about this. Mac TV said, Joey, we still need to see that Cutler Halloween pick. I agree. I even haven't seen it, so I was warned of its existence, and I've not yet seen it.
That was funny. Yeah, I'll have to get that. For anyone that doesn't know, my dad for Halloween when I was a kid, he dressed me up in he put a Jay Cutler jersey on me, and then with a big baby big and this pacifier that was like this big, and then he sent me around his neighborhood trick or treating. Definitely went to his house where there was a gate and I couldn't get up, but all the neighbors. Anyways, that's all.
How old were you?
I was younger. I mean, when was that?
So
like 2012?
like
I don't know.
years ago?
Yeah, it was like 3 years.
Okay, good to know. All right, guys. I feel so bad for everybody who's hopping in right now, but I gotta go. So have a good evening. We'll be back with you probably Friday or Saturday stream, and then we'll let you know about next week. We'll get a schedule out for you, and we'll schedule out for training camp so you know which days we're going to be out there. It'll be fun. Good night, everybody.
See ya.